Now, Fisayo Soyombo is an investigative journalist who went to the Nigerian Correctional Service to go do some investigation. He acted to commit a crime and he was remanded in that prison. While he went there, he did some investigation on how the Correctional Service operatives operate during his stay in their premises. The spokesman for the Correctional Service are both interviewed in the same TV show, which it disclaimed all the information Soyombo has accused the Correctional Service officials. Now, such information is something that you need to be careful in deciding if Soyombo is saying the truth or the Correctional Service spokesperson is saying the truth. Trust me, many journalists can be very exaggerating while passing out the information that they get. At the same time, the spokesperson for the Correctional Service too might be protecting his organization for the loopholes that is running in that organization. So someone like me, as a criminologist explorer, I have taken my time to analyze this video to see who is saying the truth among these two men. So watch this video critically and hear the information that both of them are saying and decide if truly Soyombo is lying or the spokesperson is lying.
Thank you very much for having me. Once again, I want to also thank fellow discussants. There's no doubt that this is an important issue that you have brought up. The Nigeria Correctional Service has never come on air to say that the system is run by angels, that there are no incidents of people acting out of character. But what we have always said and continue to say and do is having the capacity to address infractions in whatever quarter. Apart from Mr. Soyombo that did investigative finding to bring to the fore some of these allegations, we on our own have internal mechanisms for monitoring officers in the field, and anyone found to have acted out of character is usually disciplined. On several occasions, officers have been dismissed. Some have been reduced in rank for various forms of infractions.
Okay.
Let me talk about the Soyombo's investigation. And I beg to say that some of these allegations, they are not adequately proven to enable the authority take decisive actions. For instance, Mr. Soyombo, I followed that case when I was in service. Part of the allegations was that inmates in Ikoyi Custodial Center told him that it was possible for you to pay and your name will be expunged from the register of prisoners. I would have expected, as an investigative journalist, for him to follow through, pay the money to the inmate who claimed that there are some personnel that they can transfer the money to and will effect the change. You should have paid the money. Thereafter, when you leave the custodial facility, also go back to find out if your name is still there or not. The inmates that just promised to do that, they were out to scam him. He should have followed through to know that it is way nigh impossible for you to erase your name from the register of prisoners. Most of these allegations, I beg to say, they are mere speculations. You cannot take action against an officer that has been alleged to have committed an offense without carrying out detailed investigation. And when this barrage of allegations were coming on, I remember those days we have, and I think it's still operational, we had the complete response desk number, email addresses, and everything pasted on the walls of all our custodial facilities. The essence was to encourage Nigerians to utilize that window to report any untoward behavior.
First thing to note is that once the magistrate said remanded in prison custody, and the course closed, and they took me down to the holding cell. The first thing the prison warder did, there was a lady who was, working as my sister. They told me to go into their office in court, and they told her to peep into the holding cell. I had peeped myself, I saw, and they told her, "Is that the kind of place you want your brother to stay? Give us money, and your brother will stay in our office." Because we needed to be there until evening, when the prison boss would go around all the courts to convey inmates to prison. The prison warders approached me, I didn't approach them. And then, there was a negotiation, and then she settled for 5,000 naira.
5,000 naira?
Oh, yes. It's on tape. I want him to produce the videos the prison service seized from me in 2019. Because when you say some allegations are unsubstantiated, the ones that are substantiated, that were taped, that the prison service seized from me, produce them.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Not only that, then they came and then they said, "Oh, in prison, if you have money, you will never suffer. You serve the prison either with your body or with your money." I can tell you, Bobrisky did not spend time in prison. Spent 3 weeks and they moved him out. There's no single Nigerian who has money and does not want to complete their time in prison that will do it. It's only if they want to. From there, they told me I could get a decent place to stay in prison for 50,000, for 100,000, for 150. He even said 1 million. This was in 2019.
1 million. So how much are they supposed to be charging you per day for this supposed?
Different special rooms, depending on how much money you have. When the guy said 1 million, I said 1 million. He said yes. When Fayose was in Ikoyi prison, do you think he stayed in the general cell?
Wow.
That's the answer they gave me. These things are on tape. I'm not making allegations. These were things that happened to me that I filmed with the Secret Service. Tell the Nigerian Prison Service to produce it. Everything is on tape. The warders then told me that the warders in the prison had told the ones in court not to be striking deals with inmates, to wait for the inmates to get to prison so that the ones in prison would strike the deals by themselves.
Oh, because we were training the warders.
Yes,
by striking
the
deal
warders
before
in court. Yes, even in court, somebody approached me. The warders, called, say, "Who is working on your bill?" They called someone. The person, the lawyer, came and said, I work with the magistrate. If you pay 200,000 naira, you will sleep in your house tonight, even though the magistrate had pronounced remanded in prison.
Wow.
Yes, the only reason it didn't work out is I wanted to go to prison, not to get out. They then have, the warders then have convicts. Remember, they're awaiting trial inmates, they're convicted inmates. The convicted inmates know that they have nowhere to go. Someone who has a 7-year jail sentence, a 10-year jail sentence, is loyal to the prison warders. Because you have that's your home for the next 7, 10, regardless of your sentence. Those ones then come to you, being documented, say, out of your money, you will remove 1,000 naira to the woman at the records office, doing the documentation. And we're many. When they allocate, so after they take your pictures online, then in print, they do double documentation online and in print, and then they allocate you to a cell. The prison warder in charge of the cell, you have to pay that one. As of then, 2019, it was 1,000 naira.
Per what? Per
just for being in the cell, for nothing.
How many of you are usually in the cell?
So many, it depends on how many inmates they bring in. I spent 8 days in Ikoyi prison. The lowest number of awaiting trial inmates brought in was 16. Sometimes 40-something, sometimes,
40-something in that one cell?
No. Just, there's some. On the first night, you sleep in a place called Welcome Cell. You don't sleep like this. You don't sleep like this. You sleep like this. If
what,
you're like crayfish, when you open sardine, have you ever opened sardine? The way they pack, I'm not exaggerating. It's exactly. If Bobby spent one night in Welcome Cell, you think he will come out and speak to anybody? You won't come out. That first night, you keep asking yourself, who sent me?
Wow.
Because if I sleep and my head is facing the direction this way, the next person to me, the head then is in this direction.
So
you cannot turn.
Is at the back of your
yes,
head.
You cannot turn. You sleep like this all night. If there's no how you cannot turn. That's how you sleep. Its punishment is, and the thing is that once you have money, you bypass all these things. So
really,
the prison authorities have to decide what they want to do. Is the prison supposed to be a punitive, or I've never referred to them as Nigerian correctionals. What are they correcting? Many of these prison warders should actually be behind bars themselves. Inmates have phones. How do they have phones? The warders sell phones to inmates. This is not an allegation. Some of the tweets you see, inmates tweeting on Facebook. Now, if you want inmates to have access to phones, yes, whatever. I'm not saying inmates should go there and want to commit suicide because, they're in prison. It has to be a level playing ground. You don't bring people in for corruption and then you sell. So I want a phone in prison. A warder then comes and says it's 250,000. The phone is 150,000 in the market. The warder sells it for 250,000, and then that's it. They seized my device. So ask them, produce that device. Let us watch the videos. Shoyamba is lying. Let's play the videos we seized from him to prove that he's a liar.
Okay. Now, to the gory picture that is being painted by the gentleman in the studio, that's their own account. It's unfortunate that, just like I said earlier, that we have platforms for reporting characters that are out of place. They are boldly displayed on the walls and gates of every custodial facilities around the country. We expected that if they cannot access these avenues, their relations, their friends who visit them should have used any of the platforms to report some of these allegations. Recall that when we started this conversation, I did mention that several measures have been taken in the past, and they are still being taken to address some of these infractions. And that several officers have been either dismissed or reduced in rank. And anytime some of these actions are taken, we normally publish. I'm surprised that some of these publications that we usually use different media to make known to the public that the authority does not condone any act of indiscipline, that people don't really know much about them. We have internal mechanism for dealing with such infractions. And I also mentioned that Nigeria, I have never come on air to say that Nigerian Correctional Service is run by angels. We have bad eggs everywhere, just like you have in every other organization. I think what is important is establishing whether the institution has credible mechanism for addressing some of these infractions. And before we go further, please permit me to say something, and it's very important. Yes, I have acknowledged that, yes, there are bad eggs, but the people are bound to behave whatever way they choose to, but we have means of reining them in. Let me quickly say, with due respect to modesty, that Nigerian Correctional Service may not be as bad as is being painted, and I have my reasons.
But they're giggling
several years ago. Let us look at the issue of health. Let us look at the issue of health.
My two guests,
and support.
My two guests are giggling at that comment.
I said, let us look at the issue of health. Okay. Let us look at the issue of healthcare services. You recall that some couple of years back, cerebrospinal meningitis ravaged the society. Most northern states, about 19 northern states, were ravaged by CSN. Yet, Nigeria Correctional Service never lost a prisoner to that scourge. In 2014, when Ebola invaded most countries in Africa, Nigeria Correctional Service never lost a single soul. Recently, in 2020, when COVID-19 came and brought all nations on their knees, even some of those highly advanced countries that claim to know tomorrow, they all capitulated. But Nigeria Correctional Service remained afloat. We never lost a single soul.
Can I ask you a question? Talking about health and what have you?
Let us look at even at that 2000 and I think 2021, a senior advocate of Nigeria accused the Correctional Service of hiding his client who was suffering from COVID-19. When we went into it, we discovered that the child of this alleged patient and his lawyer, they went to the correctional facility. They saw him there. I mean, they saw the inmate there, hale and healthy. Nothing wrong with the inmate. And it was all because we were able to shut down the system and then do the needful to ensure that the disease did not escalate. We also look at the issue of education. We are saying that the whole system has come down to ground zero. Look at the issue of educational intervention and psychosocial support we provide for the inmates. How many of the inmates are doing running their educational program courtesy the support of the National Open University of Nigeria? How many are doing their masters? How many are doing their PhD program? What about vocational training programs? How many do we have in the street? I'm not saying we are out of the woods, that there are no problems. That is not what I mean. But what I'm trying to say is, for you to completely run down the system, that there is nothing good in it, is to ground zero, I beg to say, I don't entirely agree.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
Yes, there are problems everywhere. There's no doubt about it.
Next, I came in contact with people who had no business being in prison. One, two brothers, teenagers, who fought on the streets, and the police were invited, picked them up, and there was nobody to bribe the police for them to be out on bail. That's how they got to prison.
So simply put, if they had been bribed, if they had bribed police, they wouldn't even be in jail in the first place.
I wouldn't have been in prison if I paid the police bribes. They were not interested in keeping me. Every morning they would ask, it's only that your small girl that is your sister that we see. Don't you have a mature person that can come and take your bill? That's all. It was because it was Friday. And then they knew that if someone was in cell Monday to Friday, there was no bribe, then he wasn't going to pay. So they couldn't bribe the police. That's how what are teenagers doing? They should be in juvenile centers if they have to be in prison. In Ikoyi prison, I met teenagers.
That's because so you are saying that people can be sentenced and they won't even touch.
I'm even telling you that people can be sentenced and they would not get to prison. That's what I'm telling you. Because if I told you in court, they came and said, pay this amount, all the difficult parts of your bill, we'll waive them for you, we'll perfect for you. You will sleep in your house tonight. That's why when people say, oh, justice has been served, remanded in prison, sometimes I just laugh. Because if that guy wanted to sleep in his house that night, it was possible. This is a daily occurrence. While the prison warders were asking me about how much I had to pay, they were gisting. The moment, my sister paid them the first amount of money and they took me out of the holding cell, and then we spoke about the kind of house I would live in prison, and they saw that I was ready to play ball. They were free. The report is there. One of them was saying, oh, the day Naira Marley was... transfers were just going left, right, and center.
The day Naira Marley was arrested?
Yes, the day Naira Marley was brought to court and was taken to prison. He said, I made cool cash that day. Transfers were just going left, right, and center. So it is a daily occurrence. Justice in Nigeria is for the poor. It's not for the rich. The exceptions are one, when the victim of the crime, if a crime has been committed, when the victim is rich or powerful or connected, or the media has become invested in that case. There are some cases that go viral and then the attention of the media is on it, and then they know that, yes, it's up to the prisoners, the support system that they have. The reintegration is entirely up to them. But there is...
But do they have this support system?
If it varies. For most of the people who are in prison because they shouldn't be there, who don't have money to pay, fines, to sort out their bills, so it's difficult. Then they come in. As a matter of fact, a number of them want to go back to prison.
Really? Why?
Yes. People who have no place to sleep, people who were arrested because they are destitute, because, there was some guy I met in prison, a shop was robbed 2-3 days before. One night he was sleeping there, and then police came and they picked him. The guy had no place to lay his head, and then in prison, he now had a place to sleep. Okay, so what is happening in prisons, it doesn't encourage people to go in, come back, and become better humans. Look, as a prisoner, you are looking at the warder, you're like, but I'm better than this guy. What brought me? Maybe I stole a bag of rice somewhere. Let's even say, of course, there are people in prison because they committed crime, but you look at the things that the warders are doing. You realize that actually this guy just has a uniform. I'm actually better than this guy, so why can't I be back? We have to be serious about solving the problems. It is clear that reforming the Nigerian prisons has to be external. It has to be externally motivated. You see the prison officials, they're not interested. It's rot that goes from bottom up. They're not interested. When I did my undercover, there was nobody that was pointing. Maybe they transferred 1 or 2 people. The main guys were not published. The assistant chief who picked up, who brutalized me, stripped me naked.
They stripped you naked?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Handcuffed me behind. My cover was blown at some point. That's why I told them.
Oh, your cover was blown whilst you were
That's why they seized the video. So bring out the videos.
Oh.
So when it comes online to say we are lying, I wasn't supposed to go in with the device.
Yes.
Because I knew already that when you bribe prison officials, they'll bring in whatever you want for you. But in court, I didn't expect they would come to me to say, you can pay also so and so amount of money and you get put into special places, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. So I wanted to document that, and I tried to bring the device in.
Okay.
So there is nothing, and of course the final, there is nothing in the hands of an inmate that did not enter through a prison warder. Okay. Every single thing an inmate has that they shouldn't be in possession of, the warders sold them. Everything.
There's drugs too.
The person that came to give me food paid 1,000 naira to enter.
No, but what about drugs?
Anything they are bringing for you, anything. Food, even if you are not sick, you have to eat. You will pay money.
Do you have like cabals as well, like capos and what have you in the prison system?
I didn't go round enough to see because, you know, at some point when I had to admit I was a journalist, they pinned me to the welcome cell, told me I mustn't go out of my own volition, made sure that I did not see the food. So I believe everything Ibe Efron said. They invested effort in making sure that I did not come in contact with their food.
So how are you?
They were deliberate. I would go to the records to collect money and then I would go and buy food. Sold by prison warders, of course. It was right. Every service going on in prison, it's the warders who do it. But if the services are legitimate, that's not a problem. It's when they are shady. One point I like to make is the reform of the Nigerian prisons will not happen from the Nigerian prison service. I will never publicly call them Nigerian Correctional Center. It's nothing correcting going on in that place. It has to be external. The minister said there is a panel to investigate. What are you investigating? Whether Bobrisky spent time in prison or not? The panel has existed there for more than one week now. What are you investigating? I found out that he spent 3 weeks there before they moved him out. How long did it take me, one individual, without state powers to find out? The president has to be serious. Okay. Has to understand that this is a big problem that has to be fixed. Yes. Internally, these guys are not ready.
Thank you. One minute.
Thank you very much. Yes, like I said, we are not at ground zero. In 2018, we'll recall Nigerian Correctional Service won an international award given by UNESCO. And it's on the basis of the combination of education and vocational training that we give to inmates.
Okay, thank you so much.
National Center for Disease Control is also there to confirm these records I gave on preserving the lives of inmates.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. We have to really go now.
There are some situations, no matter how you want to find it very real, no matter how the complainant of such situation is expressing himself to be saying the truth, justice will not take place if some factual evidences are not in place. You can see where the correctional service spokesperson is saying that as an investigating journalist, if you have some informations like this, you should do it to a point where people can actually hammer on. And remember where I said journalists sometimes can exaggerate things. You can't overwrite these things, that what the journalist is saying is true or not. Something that people will work on, something that investigators will work on is fact, which I think this is where the correctional service spokesperson is nailing the journalist now. And good, the journalist now is saying that he has a recording tape with them, as he claimed. If truly that is true, now that is a good move, right? Whatsoever thing that he said earlier, the journalist, you can't hammer the prison officials on that yet. Now he said there is an evidence on a recording tape that is with the correctional service officials. Now, if it's possible for you to retrieve those tapes, right, and every negotiations and every activities that went on in that prison is being recorded truly, then I think the correctional service is in a big mess. Now, I'm not saying such occurrence do not exist, but it's just the way things are. For you to prosecute someone on an offense, there must be a factual evidence, either video, either witness, images to prove that what you are saying is true. One of the good signs to know someone is lying is when an interrogator or an investigator asks you a question, then for you to go straight and answer the question directly, but instead you deviate to make a reference to some scenarios or some situations just to prove that what this person is saying should not be taken seriously, because you have some measures of facts that people can check on. For instance, if someone says, you stole my money and I saw you, Instead of you to say, where, how, you now say, me that I have 200,000 naira in my account, me that I spent some certain amount of money yesterday, how can I steal your money? See, the moment you make such statements, it shows you are just trying to deviate from the situation. You want someone to perceive you as if you have some protection, that you want people to feel like, okay, you can't commit this offense, right? I think this is what this correctional service spokesperson is trying to do here. Someone is alleging and is giving scenario. Commonsensically, you can understand that what Soyombo is saying can be true. The scenario that he plays that is happening in the correctional service premises, you can say they are true. But for you to now either approve that or disapprove it by giving some facts, he is now trying to bring in situations like they have process in which you can follow, that you can report some occurrence, and someone is saying that the system does not even give you the avenue to do these things. Instead of you to answer his allegations, you are saying there are structured process that you can follow for him to get justice, for people to be aware of the situation. He claimed that you have his device with him. You didn't make reference to that device. These are signs that shows that there might be an atom of truth from what Soyombo is saying, and at the same time, the spokesperson might not be saying the truth. Well, it's up to you to decide if Soyombo is saying the truth or if the spokesperson for the correctional service is saying the truth. Trust me, all we need is an evidence, which currently there is none. Hopefully, the people in charge of the investigation will bring out something tangible for us to know if the correctional service is operating the way they should, or if the investigating journalist is telling us some lies. We wish our security agency operates the way they should, which is the most important. Thank you, and keep shining.